as the green flag is up and we are racing. Here we go, the final race of the day for day one of round number 3.
Absolutely. And
looks like that's Gilmore leading them into turn 1, taking over the early race lead. And then watch out for the number 9 of Jake Masters as well, who I believe just moved into that number 2 spot.
Yes, he did, and just looking really smooth and sharp through there. Boy, Cody's just looking great, just showing his skill right through those turns. Look at how close some of these guys are, just trying to figure out their positioning.
Oh, and we saw a couple of riders bumping and banging as well, so we did have some contact being made by a few of our riders, as we know how urgently these riders want to try to get to the front, especially when they see some of the heavy hitters like Gilmore and Masters already starting to slip away.
Especially some of those guys that last month in Chuckwalla had some horrific crashes and are needing points. So this is all about points in this race, and there's some people that are hungry and hunting for them.
Well, can't forget, Cody Gilmore was one of those riders that did go down as well. Didn't necessarily just completely derail his finish, but look at this. I want to try to figure out who that rider was that made a pass along the outside. Taking a look, that might be either Clay Braun or Tony Salima. Definitely looks like one of those FDR rides.
Yes, it does. I think that might have been Clay. Clay is just dialed in, and he is ready to go. He's been excited all week waiting for this race to get on that track. He's got that new bike under him, and just amazing ride. He's got some power at all portions of this track.
Man, look at how close these guys are getting as they check in for lap 1 complete. It is Cody Gilmore out front leading the way in that Andrews Performance Products Bagger GP class. Jake Masters leads the way, or is in the number 2 spot, I should say, on the number 9. That is Tony Salima in the 3rd place spot with Jankard, and then Clay Braun rounding out the top 5. Danny Spina back in the 6th place spot. Maybe going to be a little bit frustrated with that, knowing the rider he's tied in points with is in that number 2 position.
Between Cody and Jake Masters, there's a half a tenth of a second between these two. That's incredible. They're both running 137s. Just some great times being posted right here. Nice drone shot.
Yeah, great look on our Wild Boar Audio live drone as our leaders starting to break away. And this is kind of one of the things that I had circled as far as questions coming into round 3 was, could Cody Gilmore get that Bagger GB bike figured out? We saw him go undefeated in 2024. Really seemed like he was super comfortable, and then that opening weekend this year just wasn't jiving with the bike. Still had plenty of speed, but you could tell the comfort wasn't quite there. Now he's out front and he's looking mighty comfortable.
He really is. He's just got perfect lines going through these, and everybody behind is just trying to keep up. Hoping he makes a mistake. I don't see that happening though. He is running a clean race right now.
Man, look at this battle right now as Danny Spina caught in between the 2 FDR riders of Clay Braun and Tony Salima in the mix of it, as now Clay Braun has actually jumped into the number 3 spot. Salima had made the pass for 4th for just a split second before Spina got right back around, headed into turn number 1. Now he's applying the pressure to the back of Clay Braun.
He really is, and boy, you know that Clay just did a head check right there. Remember, he did that a little bit before his accident in Chuckwalla, so he's hearing the motor right behind him. He knows he's got to stretch it out a little bit. He's just got to make sure he doesn't push it too hard in those corners.
Well, and that was something that we saw as well, wasn't necessarily the riders that were super far out of position or trying to make up a ton of time. It was once they started to get close, when they could smell blood in the water, that was when they started pushing just a little bit more and stepping across that line and possibly even finding themselves on the ground. So Spina and Braun right now are in a very unique position. One's playing offense, one's playing defense, but they can't let worrying about the other rider stop them from hitting their marks out here on this NPH course.
You really do have to ride your own ride and be focused on what you have to do, because when you don't, that is when the mistakes happen. We saw that in Chuckwalla quite a few times. You're absolutely right. It was often somebody trying to make up just a little bit too much, getting a little too greedy with their track position and trying to get a more than a tenth of a second or just a little bit in the corners and forgetting how dangerous some of these corners can be.
Man, taking a look, great view there of the kind of line variance in turn 13. You saw Spina cut back underneath, a drag race down the front stretch, almost pulled up alongside Clay Braun, but Braun able to close the door as they headed back into turn number 1. So it is still Gilmore, Masters, Braun, Spina, and Salima 1 through 5, with Tony Tucker now moving into that 6th place position. Brendan Foley just behind him on the number 29. Once again, we see a little look over from Braun there.
There he is. Jake Masters just ran a 1:33. That's the fastest time we've had so far in this race.
Yeah,
great lap time.
1:33.062 is Gilmore's fastest. It was a 33.039, so a couple of tenths faster. Once again, we see these guys splitting hairs as far as the difference between the top of the field.
And that's where it's so dangerous, because if you just make one little mistake, it may not cause a crash, but it might cost you a tenth of a second, and that may be all it takes to lose the race.
Yeah, as far as mistakes go, these riders have to be almost picture perfect if they want a chance to grab the win, as Gilmore puts another solid 133 in the books, a 133.7, but Masters starting to close the gap up as he was a 133.4, 3/10 faster on that last lap. So Masters now starting to reel back in the 374 of Cody Gilmore, and possibly looking to overtake the physical lead on track.
It's all about not getting too greedy. He's just got to keep in his race and keep his lines clear and come up just a little bit each lap. There's still a few laps to go, so he's got time. He just needs to not get overly aggressive to where he goes off the track, but still keep him within sight and just little bits here at a time.
Well, and don't forget, Dave, both of these riders are rookies in their respective classes. Jake Masters going undefeated in Super Street and moving up to that Pro Stock class. Meanwhile, Gilmore, he was undefeated in Pro Stock, now jumps up to the Big Bagger GP class. So both of these riders trying out some new bikes, learning some new things, and clearly picking up some strong pointers as they're both leading their classes at the moment. Gilmore out in the front of that Bagger GP class, and then Jake Masters now leading the way in the Pirelli Pro Stock class.
And I think we just had a really well-executed pass right over there. Here we are coming around with turn 13. Just want to take that real cautiously. Don't want to lose the race right there. Look at the lean angles right there.
Man. And the amount of commitment that takes as well. That's something that we hear a lot of these riders talk about, is they know what to do. They're just, quite frankly, they're a little too scared to do it. And it is so impressive to watch these top riders not necessarily throw caution to the wind, but so calculated with the way their body positioning is. It really is impressive to see how much control they have over these machines, as Gilmore now still 1.85 seconds in front of Jake Masters.
You're absolutely right. The control that they have is incredible. Back in Chuckwalla, when we saw the Lifestyle Cycles with Frankie Garcia, he actually cut the foot pegs in half, and as he rode, he actually rubbed off the side of each of his shoes on both sides. That's how close he was as he was riding around that track. These guys are doing an incredible lean angle with a bagger, and that is so difficult. And yet these guys make it look easy. It's incredible.
Man, look at this. Danny Spina and Clay Braun still going at it once again. Spina in the number 3 spot. Braun now back to 4th as the 199 moving his way forward. And he's actually running a bit faster of a lap time, Danny Spina is, than both of your leaders at the moment. 134.7 on that last lap for the 199 of Danny Spina. Look at this. Braun.
Wow.
Working with those outsides, riding just off the rear wheel of the 199.
That is a great way to get into somebody's head. You just stay right off your back wheel, not able to shake them. You're just trying to wear them down.
I like what I'm seeing from the 199, or I should say what I'm not seeing. I'm not a huge fan of the glancing back. It's one thing from time to time, but we saw Braun start to make a bit of a habit of it, whereas Danny Spina, he's locked in, focused ahead. Trust me, he is more than aware that Clay Braun is back there, but he's focusing forward on what he needs to do to try to open that gap up rather than worrying about the line that Clay's taking.
Absolutely. You do have to run your own race, and if you let somebody else get in your head, that can really mess with you. So you've got to just run your own race. Make sure you're watching your lines and hitting those lines each and every time. You're running as fast as you can, nobody's going to catch you. You've got to have that mindset.
Yeah, these guys have to just focusing out of getting 100% out of what they can do rather than worrying about what the other riders are capable of. As we get into the second half of this race, I believe 8 laps here in this final race of the day. Cody Gilmore trying to bring things home as now he has significantly opened that gap up on Jake Masters. Take a look at the lap time chart, and Masters a pretty bad lap on that last one, a 1:39, which is it's not a bad lap, but for Jake Masters especially, that has now allowed 7.6 seconds to open up between himself and Cody Gilmore. Meanwhile, the white flag is waving. It's the final lap of racing.
Once again, you can see that lean angle as they're coming in, getting ready to. This is the lap you want to truly make sure you've got your best speed going, but at the same time, you do not want to go over that edge and have any kind of an accident right here at your last lap.
Yeah, if there's a time to make a move, if you've been saving up a secret passing spot, this is the time that you've got to go for it. But just like you said, Dave, don't throw away a decent race trying to make this something incredible. So many of these riders in for the big picture. They need the points at the end of the season. The last thing they can handle is another DNF or maybe their first of the season. So let's see if we can find our leader, Cody Gilmore, making his way around less than a lap remaining as he tries to add a Bagger GP win to the resume. Jake Masters going to try to cross the line in that number 2 spot, but take a win in his respective class. They're in that Pirelli Pro Stock class. And in that Super Street, that Barnett Clutches and Cable Super Street class, might be Foley out front leading the way in that one on the 29. But let's take a look coming into the final corner. 374 gonna check up a little bit, let the white go, and there it is. Checker flag flies for the 374 of Cody Gilmore. Gonna grab the win in your Andrews Performance Products Bagger GP class.
Beautiful race, well done. Boy, these baggers are truly. You don't really realize on television that these guys are doing 145 miles an hour in some of those back straights. Yeah, they are just so fast and hitting those corners so hard. It is constantly acceleration and braking. And these guys have done an amazing job. Look at these guys coming around.
Absolutely incredible. Masters does cross the line in the number 2 spot. Looked like that was Danny Spina just behind him with Clay Braun. And then Tony Salima rounding out the top 5, crossing the line. Don't forget, we did have 3 different classes: our Andrews Bagger GP, our Barnett Clutches and Cable Super Street, as well as our Pirelli Pro Stock classes, all out on track at the same time. So we'll have 3 podium celebrations coming up here in just a little bit.
And that's one of the.
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I was going to say that's one of the great things, that if you're looking to actually move up a class and you're just kind of getting started in bagger racing, you may be on the track with people that are in the category above you.
Yeah, the next level could be right there on track with you. Let's take a look at how the final race of the day went down with our Alpine Stars race replay. Chaos right off the jump is some riders moving up, some riders shuffling back, but it would be Cody Gilmore grabbing the early race lead, and then Jake Masters making a couple of quick moves to get up into that number 2 spot. Then the battle was on. Danny Spina, Clay Braun, and Tony Salima, a battle royale as Spina fighting with the 2 FDR teammates back and forth, all for that final podium spot. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, stretching it out to just over 14 seconds, Cody Gilmore takes the win and gets that Andrews Performance Products Bagger GP win. Jake Masters is going to cross the line just behind him. It will be Danny Spina crossing the line in the number 3 spot. Clay Braun and Tony Salima, your top 5. Cody Tucker, Brendan Foley, Craig Braymiller, Jake McGuire, and Tyler Elliott, your top 10 physically on track for our final race of the day.